Hello dear viewers and welcome to the third episode of Come Together, a joint initiative of the European People's Party and its political foundation, the Wilfried Martens Centre for European Studies. I'm Sandra Pasaric and it is my great pleasure to welcome today Deputy Prime Minister of Slovenia and Defence Minister, Mr. Matej Tonin. Hello Deputy Prime Minister and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us from Ljubljana. And our other guest, Michael Benhamou, former political advisor at NATO and at the French Army, as well as research associate at the Martin Center. Hello, Michael, and welcome to you as well.
Hello, Sandra, and thanks for the invitation.
We will discuss about the priorities of the Slovenian presidency of the EU Council, as well as EU and Slovenian defense policies. My first question goes to the Deputy Prime Minister. Deputy Prime Minister Tonin, the EU presidency of Slovenia is very much focused on European sovereignty, particularly in the defense domain. Your country has pushed a lot on crisis management, military mobility, hybrid threats, cybersecurity, and strengthening of the EU-NATO partnership. According to you, in which of those areas have you seen progress in 2021 and in which less so?
Hi everyone again. I think that under the President Trump, European Union realized that maybe there will be sometimes in the future a time when we can count only on ourselves, and that's the thing where we have to do more for ourselves, not for the Americans, but for ourselves. And I think that sometimes I can understand ministers of defense of other countries who are spending a lot for defense, that they are saying, look, it is simply not right that our taxpayers are paying for European security, and that Europe should do more for our own security. And with the President Macron, he started to talk, he starting to express and to explain more about the strategic autonomy. And when we were starting talking about strategic autonomy, I had a feeling that some people from the other side of the ocean are simply afraid of such approach because they were very worried. What does it mean, strategic autonomy? Does it mean that you are going somewhere away from us, or what's the point? And I think that we should be very clear in Slovenia, within the Slovenian presidency, we are trying really hard to explain, especially our allies within the and whenever we are talking about strategic autonomy of European Union, it means that we should do more for our own security, for our own defense, and that at the same time, stronger Europe means stronger NATO alliance as well. You asked me where we made the biggest steps further. I think that strategic compass is one very important initiative which will definitely give European Union the guidelines what we want to do in the field of defense in the next couple of years. So it's in a way roadmap how we can develop a stronger Europe for a safer world.
Thank you, sir, for these first words. And you're mentioning the fact that the concept of strategic autonomy has become more central in conversations. This is perhaps due to the Taliban return in Kabul this summer, which was poorly coordinated with Europeans. Perhaps this is also due to the confusion in Australia with the submarine deal and the fact that our American and English partners did not give us any notice of this maneuver. But concretely, how do you think, could you show us examples of how European countries have taken strategic autonomy forward? Have you felt any changes over the past few months with regards to defense cooperation, for example, or intelligence cooperation, for instance? Has anything changed in practice?
Sad story in Afghanistan definitely boosted the debate about strategic autonomy of European Union. I wouldn't agree with you that the withdrawal from Afghanistan was poorly coordinated. I think that coordination among European countries were excellent. We help each other. We try with the different things, which were sometimes effective, sometimes we had problems, but still the coordination on the field in a Kabul among European countries was excellent. So, and I think that this is not the main point, the lack of coordination, because I said the coordination was very good. What we saw clearly and loudly is that Europe lacks one of crucial capabilities that we would be able to run the Kabul airport even in the future, or maybe that even though that Americans decided that they want to withdraw, that they will go out of the Afghanistan, that Europeans would still stay there, because what's going on in Afghanistan has concrete consequences in Europe, definitely much greater than, for example, in the United States. And that was, I think, the main conclusion, that we lack some capabilities, that we need to develop very complicated, at the same time, very expensive capabilities that we can run operations wherever in the world, even though that they are quite tough or maybe in the very dangerous zone. So this was in a way the main conclusion. And in the beginning of September, when we hosted in Slovenia informal meeting of defense ministers, besides discovering the lack of capabilities, we were debating as well what we can do as Europeans, as a member of the European Union, to act faster. For example, probably you know that European Union has European battle groups, which were unfortunately
never used.
Because the process of decision making or accepting political decision is so long that in reality this institute or this mechanism simply doesn't work. And there we started a discussion how to improve our current European battle groups, that they will be effective, that we can deploy them very fast wherever is necessary to secure the interest of European Union. So I think that's one very concrete step forward.
You mentioned the capabilities, and it has been a priority of the EU presidency of Slovenia to focus on tech, on innovation, on speed with regards to defense. This is something that we can extract from your statements. But do you think that we Europeans can catch up with the Americans and with the Chinese with regards to robotics, AI, or software programming? Should we try to fight all battles, or maybe find at this stage niches, segments in which we can create jobs and geopolitical influence? What should be the right strategy with regards to innovation and war?
You know, innovation for future warfare is essential. I'm absolutely sure that future wars won't be fought on the field, but rather on the cyberspace or somewhere else. So today, maybe it's more important how robust cyber defense you have than how many tanks you have on the other hand. So the concept is definitely changing, but we can say very loudly and clearly that European Union is very developed, technologically advanced. So I see the main problem that we don't want to spend so much for our defense reasons, as for example, maybe Americans or Chinese or somebody else. I think that we as a Europeans, we have two major problems. One is that our defense industry is very diverse. On some other fields, for example, when we are talking about energy and energy supply, diversification is very good and definitely necessary. But field of defense, uh, developing maybe 16 different tanks within the union
Yes.
is simply not rational. On the other hand, Americans are developing only one tank, Chinese as well. So these are the issues where we have to make in the future some kind of agreement that is simply not worth it, not smart to spend money in such a dispersed. And another thing,
Yeah.
the level of defense spending. Today for breakthroughs for different technologies, it just need money. You must spend money to develop specific capabilities. And when you compare defense spending in Europe or elsewhere, you will see that there are some space to maneuver. And when we will improve those two pillars, so defense spending and making things together, I think we can compete with all superpowers on the world.
You mentioned at the beginning of this conversation strategic autonomy and also the strategic compass, which is the ability of Europeans to look in the same direction and to assess threats in the same way, threats and also opportunities in the same way. And I think it is very interesting to discuss that with you because as a Slovenian politician and deputy prime minister, because Slovenia is sometimes located in the south of Europe, but by others located in the east of Europe. So your own geographic position is quite unique in this debate that we all have, which is Russia the number one priority, or is this the Middle East? Should we focus our resources in the south or in the east? What is your take on this European debate?
Slovenia is positioned geostrategico in a very interesting area, so where we can feel the influence from the south, from the north, west, and the east. And you can see the debates within the European Union and as well in the NATO that, for example, Baltic countries or Eastern countries, they are absolutely focusing on Russia. They have historical experience, which are not nice. And that's why they are emphasizing and they want to put on the table, they want to put this discussion high on our agenda, and I totally understand them. But on the other hand, we have southern countries, for example, Greece, I would say Italy, who are underlining that because of instability in the Middle East or in the Northern Africa, the region, Europe has major problems, and that we have to focus on that part of the world as well. So the discussions are very diverse, and you can feel the tone from in the debate because those ministers are addressing the issues which are very visible in their countries. But as I said, Slovenia, we need to balance all those issues. So maybe it will sound strange, but we are balancing on all flanks. So we have debates back home about Russia, about Middle East, and as well we are active in different projects and even missions which are dealing with those issues which I were mentioning. For example, Slovenia is present in EFP in Latvia. We are present at the same time. We were in for Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon, and so on. So we try to balance all point of views, and we try to show that we as Europeans should focus on all flanks, not only on Eastern or South.
You're also trying to push the European Union to focus more on the Western Balkans and on trying to stabilize this region of Europe. The Thessaloniki promise in 2003 to integrate Western Balkan countries within the EU has not been fulfilled yet. Many funds have been spent to harmonize their societies and economies with ours. We also see that Kosovo and Serbia remain fraught with each other, continue to have this tense relationship. Given all this, what would you say are realistic goals for the next 5 years for the Balkans? What do you foresee for that region and in its relationship with Europe?
We Slovenians, we understand Western Balkan as a part of Europe. And that's why we are one of the greatest or the most vocal supporters, promoters that all countries from Western Balkans should be full member of the European Union. And I think that whenever we will reach this goal, at that time the peace and security will be really granted in that area. We have a feeling, because you can imagine that after the last war in 90s, Slovenia accepted more than 100,000 refugees from Western Balkan countries. For a country with 2 million inhabitants, that's really something, and that's why we feel whatever happens in that region at our doorstep. So that's why we are very sensitive what's going on. And another thing we are emphasizing, because European Union is focusing on many areas, after the economic crisis, after 2008, we were dealing with ourselves, with our problems within the economies, how to do different things to boost the economy. Then we were focusing on Middle East, we were focusing on Russia. Simply, but surely in a way, we forgot Western Balkan. And we want to tell our European friends, look, don't forget that First World War started in the Western Balkan, in Sarajevo. That Second World War in Western Balkan was very bloody, and as well in the 19th. So even today, ethnic tensions are high. We can see that, I would say very directly, because European Union is not active in the region. The empty space is filled by different activities by China, by Russia, by Turkey. And I think this is Europe, and that's why European Union should be much more active in the region. That's why I was disappointed in the beginning of October when we hosted in Ljubljana EU Western Balkans Summit, and we expected that maybe there is a possibility that we set a goal. In the next 10 years, all those countries will be full members of the European Union. But unfortunately, there was not a consensus, so we couldn't accept or approve the timeline. But still, one very important thing is that we confirmed that we will heavily invest in that region. We will provide 30 billion euros for different investments in the region. And I think this will definitely increase the level of visibility of the European Union in the region. And that's very important, that we have to promote, we have to defend European values and democracy in the region.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister Tonin. It was a pleasure to have you here today as our guest and come together. Indeed, very active politics, very active topic and relevant topic that we've discussed today. We wish you all the best for the last 2 months of the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the EU. Thank you, Michael, as well, for your interesting questions. Dear viewers, thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more episodes of Come Together.
Goodbye.